Well, welcome back. Of course, we're talking back to school, and one of the most dreaded parts about going back to school for some is homework, and not just for students, but also the parents. Joining us this morning, occupational therapist Pam Shaw. Good morning to you, Pam.
Good morning.
I think, first of all, the big point here is about setting up a routine. What do you think is important about that?
Well, after coming off of summer, when there was no routine, I think it's really important to get our children back into some sort of routine, because, of course, school itself is a routine. And so I think that we need to get our kids to bed on time, right?
Yes.
So they may complain. They really need that structure, and they need to get their 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And I think it's also important to set up routines as far as homework. When are you going to do your homework? Right after school? Maybe they need a break. Maybe they need to get out and do some physical activities prior to starting homework. But those kind of things that they put in place that might help your student to be successful.
I think that's great. And speaking of timing, but also environment, what's the best spot in the home to do homework?
You know, if you could find a quiet spot away from distractions, there's many of us and our children are very highly distracted, especially with all the extra distractions we have with the, electronic medias and things. But possibly a room where there's free of distractions, with a desk and well lit. Hopefully a chair where their feet could fit on the floor and sit on the floor, with all the tools that they might need for their particular homework.
I think those are great points, too. What are some good strategies for organizing homework so assignments really get done and turned in?
Right, and that's the most important thing, of course. Of course, they need a backpack, something to carry their things to and from school. In the elementary grades, often they're provided with a planner or some sort of calendar. And if it's not, you can just go to your local office supply store and get one. But that is critical to me, to be able to document what the homework assignments are and the expectations for due dates. If your particular campus allows electronic media and they have cell phones today, they could take a picture of what's on the board as far as what's expected as far as assignments go.
So you can kind of keep on track there.
Exactly.
What about the best ways for parents to interact with teachers here about homework assignments? I'm guessing that picture would be one of them.
Yes, that would be. I think typically today with teachers' busy schedules, they like to be contacted through email. And they typically have a parent, meet the parent day, and they will explain their favorite way to be contacted. Usually they have a period during the day that they can be reached by phone. But if you try to call them during the day, of course, they're teaching, and so it's not going to be available.
Exactly. You may want to have that conversation on Monday, that first day of school. What about how much time is reasonable to really dedicate to homework? What do you think?
Studies have shown that typically 10 minutes per grade level. Like if it's first grade, they shouldn't have more than 10 minutes of homework or so. And I think when it starts getting longer than that, of course, depending on the age of our kids, we're just not able to handle that. But I think we need to pace. If you're in the upper grades, secondary school, maybe get the most difficult things done first, and then wait till the end of the day to do the easier things. And planning, of course. If you've got a project due, don't wait till the last minute. How many of our kids have done that?
I know.
The parents that end up more stressed than the kids.
Right, and guilty. I totally get that. Let's talk about music or TV. Are these things helpful or distracting? I mean, my son's going into kindergarten, and I have a 2-year-old, so there's other things going on at home during homework time. So you're trying to occupy one and get the other one. I mean, what's helpful, what's distracting?
Well, one thing I might suggest is, of course, to turn the TV off, because it is a distractor. And I think to model to our children, like if they're doing reading, for example, and in that young age, you probably would be sitting beside them reading with them. But if not, that you would be reading or doing something. If they're doing math, for example, maybe you're sitting down and working out your checkbook, so that they see that those skills that they're learning are applicable to real life. So kind of modeling that. But some kids do work better with background music. I can't, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
I think it's very individualized. So.
And also, you brought up a great point about balancing a checkbook and relative to what's going on here in real world. What about for those parents that haven't had calculus in a long time and their kids may need some help? What about resources for us to kind of refresher?
Right. There's so many resources available online, and I believe we're going to have some links to different online resources for parents. But another thing, a lot of the districts have a system called Edmodo.
Okay.
And it's like a private social media. But the teachers go on there and they put links and resources that parents can access. They have study guides and study worksheets.
Wonderful.
And pre-testing things that you could work with your child with. Okay.
Great information, Pam. You can also find more information, those websites we were just talking about. See a replay of this interview on the hot button of click2houston.com. It's going to be posted a little bit later after the show. Thanks so much for coming in. Great information this morning. Do appreciate it.